Ah yes, ignition. If you follow my channel, you'll probably notice that I have a soft spot for racing games. It's mostly due to the fact that I have a really short attention span and racing games are just perfect for that. I like to enjoy them in often but short bursts. Ignition filled that hole perfectly, at least when I was a bit younger. It was published in 1997 by Virgin Interactive and developed by Unique Development Studios, or UDS for short. It's a 3D top-down arcade racer similar to Micro Machines with its driving mechanics and the fact that the endgame cars feel like oversized toy cars. But Ignition features a lot more realistic aesthetics when it comes to the tracks. You can play single player and two-player local split screen. There's network play too, but only in the Windows 95 version. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Ignition had two executables for the game. One was for DOS and one for Windows, with the DOS version lacking some features like netplay since it used Microsoft's DirectPlay. The option for MIP mapping is disabled due to memory issues in DOS, at least that's what the README states. Oh, and perspective polygon option when turned on in DOS mode is a real blast. I mean, literally, as there's a 50% chance of cars starting exploding. I've never encountered this before, so it really caught me off guard. It's either a DOS mode issue or a DOSBox issue as I'm playing the GOG version of the game. It's a shame though, as the perspective polygons actually fix a lot of polygon warping and use correct perspective texture mapping instead of affine mapping, which makes the game look way better. Is there anything else that does not work in the DOS version? Well, of course, but I'll get back to that thing soon. In Ignition there are 4 types of races: a single race against AI opponents, a championship consisting of 5 or 7 races, a time trial mode and pursue mode, where each lap the last player is knocked out of the race. In the single player you can choose your vehicle from a selection of 7 cars initially, with 4 more unlockable, and you can race on 5 tracks with 2 more unlockable. Not too shabby. But I feel there could have been a little more variety, like more variants of levels with the same theme, but nope. Choose the championship mode, choose your car, and you're off to the race it. But wait, you may ask yourself, is that it? Just a single championship cup in the entire game? And how long is it? What are the tracks? Well, for some inexplicable reason, the game just doesn't have a normal cup selection. Instead, you have to change the difficulty in the options menu. Though that still won't tell you what tracks and in which order are in the championship. Nothing to see here besides poor user interface decisions. Anyway, back to the racing, and it's pretty darn solid. It's very arcadey and easy to pick up as there's not much besides arrow keys and the turbo button to control the cars. The car physics have quite a lot of bounce to them, which amplifies the feeling that you're driving oversized toy cars, but that bounce can be a gift and a burden. Bouncing off walls when turning is highly encouraged in Ignition, where even the AI just bounces around since the speed penalty of that isn't too high. But hit the wall at the wrong angle or when you're too fast and you come to a dead stop spinning, and usually just end up facing the wrong way of the track, causing you to lose precious seconds trying to turn around. And you'll be doing lots of turning across the 7 tracks, which feature canyons, farmlands, gold rush canyons, tropical island resorts, abandoned jungle ruins, snowy mountains, Iceland mountains, and the dangerous streets of Tokyo. The tracks are very well designed, challenging and full of traps that will lead to your demise if you're not careful enough. Cliffs, thunder, tornadoes, giant boulders, trains, volcanoes, and most of all, the most dangerous of hazards, the tractor. They're also full of jumps, twists, turns and forks in the road. Very often they will allow you to take a more dangerous route, but a shorter one. So it's often a matter of split-second decision on where to go, whether to take the risk or play it safe. But that's not always the case, as a big role in decision making is seeing what's ahead of you, and the fixed camera isn't always as helpful, as it doesn't really allow you to see much of what's ahead of you. which often just ends up taking a risk and crashing into something. But it's still pretty fun. The tracks usually have very distinct sections that transition very nicely between each other, so it's very easy to memorize these segments, and zipping through them with the turbo is just so cool. Especially since each car has its own unique turbo horn, so you can even hear when and which enemy is boosting. I've easily beaten the Amateur Cup, which unlocked more tracks and cars, then the Novice Cup, and then the Pro Cup. It felt like hitting a sudden wall for me. Not only does it start with one of the harder tracks, the enemies drive fast and aggressively, but it's also the moment I realized that the championship mode has a severe flaw. You have to come in at least 3rd place. And what's the point of that? Championship modes in racing games work on a points system because you're never gonna have a perfect winning streak, and this allows you to perform worse in some races while winning others. Forcing the player to land in the first 3 spots sort of defeats the purpose of the whole point system, as you're the only one who gets punished, not the AI. I've tried, and I've had no luck. But since the championship is only used to unlock new cars and tracks, I figured I could just use good old-fashioned cheat codes to do just that and just play around with the game the way I want. Except that's not what the developers wanted. Remember how I mentioned that one more thing that didn't work in DOS mode? Yeah, not a single cheat code works. I think they might have forgotten about implementing them, and now that I think about it, it sure feels like the DOS version was an afterthought, and playing it is basically playing the inferior version. That being said, the missing parts are mostly bells and whistles, the core gameplay remains unchanged. But if you want the best experience, you'll want to run the Windows version. It should run without a hitch on systems up to Windows XP. And I've checked. Cheat codes, perspective, and map mapping all work flawlessly on the Windows version. So, is Ignition a good racing game overall? Most definitely yes, but it doesn't have a lot to keep you to play it. There's barely any progression in the game, and the very same year we saw the release of Micro Machines V3, which actually plays very similar to Ignition, but it also offers tons more vehicles, tons more themes with multiple tracks per theme. Ignition is fun, but something you might want to play if you have literally nothing else to do. My name has been TRG, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!